I'm Shelby Sim, and this is the Ynez Valley. 6 beautiful communities with a million things to offer. Delicious food, world-class wine, and more fun than you can imagine. But at its heart is a community of great people with stories to share. Join me and let's discover the Ynez Valley. The sun is just rising over the Ynez Valley. It's going to be another beautiful day. If you're just waking up in Los Alamos, you can already smell the fresh bread at Bob's Wellbred Bakery. We have a real treat this morning. We're out at Bob's Wellbred in Los Alamos. The bakery just opened up, and I'm really excited to be sitting here with my good friend, Bob Oswax.
How are you, Shelby? Thanks for coming out to see us today.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much for having us. Bob, we've been pals for a while, and please tell us a little about the history, what motivated you to come out and open up the bakery.
Well, you know, I've been baking for about 11 years now. I left an executive job. I was head of worldwide marketing at Sony. Got phased out during the recession, and I had a wood-fired oven in my backyard, and my good friend Clark from Flatbed down the street gave me a copy of tartine bread and some of his 15-year-old starter. It's now 26 years old, and it just took off from there. I realized I liked it, and
I'm really glad he liked doing it.
From there, I decided to go up to San Francisco and study. So I studied at San Francisco Baking Institute for 2 years.
2 years.
Wrote a business plan and had to talk my lovely wife into leaving Los Angeles and moving up to the Central Coast. We had a house here, so we knew that, you know, the Central Coast and Los Alamos and the Ynez Valley was going to be perfect. You know, the concept of being up here with farmers and winemakers and, you know, making bread was just a perfect match. You know, whether you're making wine or cheese or bread, whatever you do when you're making something with your hands, there's a magic to it. You know, people come in and they watch us rolling croissant and putting bread in and out of the oven and shaping the breads and baking them. And, you know, it doesn't change the way it tastes, but it changes their experience. And that's what people come for, is an experience.
Yes, and boy, they do.
Thank you. Would you like a latte?
Why, sure. Thank you.
Go.
Oh, look at how pretty.
Yeah.
Happiness is a hot latte. So, high-powered Hollywood executive to baker in the Ynez Valley, kind of a sleepy town. How did you decide, and how has that transition been?
Kind of refer to it as from showbiz to doughbiz, because it really was a life change. But I was sort of ready for it, and I'd done that for 30 years, worked for all the different studios, Paramount, Norman Lear, Sony, you know, launched TV shows all around the world, and I was, you know, it came at a good time for me because I was looking at an exit ramp anyway.
Lucky for all of us, his exit ramp was Los Alamos on Highway 101. I'm going to take a sip of this latte, Bob. Will you please tell us what we have in front of us?
Sure. We just wanted you to see a sampling of everything that we produce on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So we're open Thursday through Monday in Los Alamos from 7 a.m. to 4, in Ballard from 8 a.m. to 4. And we produce the same product for each bakery it gets, the bakers actually have to start now at 9 o'clock at night to get everything done to load up the van at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive it to Ballard. We've got traditional butter croissant. We've got pain au chocolat, which is a chocolate croissant, ham and cheese croissant. We've got a savory pastry. Right now we're doing tomato Asiago with some basil and pesto. So it's like a little breakfast pizza.
Wow, every single one of these pastries looks absolutely delicious.
We always do fruit pastries, so I've got peach pastry right over there next to the other croissant. We've got a blueberry pastry there too. The blueberries are picked right off the 154 over there. The Queen Amman, which is down right over here, that's a traditional pastry from Brittany on the west coast of France. It's like a salted caramel croissant because in between the layers of croissant dough, you've got layers of dough and butter. In between those layers, we're adding sugar and sea salt. So when it's in the oven, the butter melts the sugar and it caramelizes the whole thing.
Wow.
Cannelé de Bordeaux, which is right over here, and that's like a custardy little cake that's got a caramelized outer shell. Very popular as well. So every day we've got morning buns and sticky buns, and that's the selection of everything you'll find in our pastry case.
I'd like to point out that there's no law against me eating all of this.
And after the pastry, we'll show you some of the breads. So this is our signature loaf, Shelby. This is called pain au levain, which is a naturally fermented bread. It's the first one I ever made, so it's actually got our symbol on there.
Yeah, and tell us about the logo. What's the symbol? What's the story?
Well, this is a Victorian bread fork, and it was used in the 19th century and before tongs, so that when the bread or dinner rolls came around the table, you'd pick up the fork and you'd pierce one and put it on your plate. So you weren't touching it with your hands or being unsanitary that way. So we put it on our bottles of wine and our wine glasses, and we have baseball caps and t-shirts and sweatshirts, and we have I put it on my arm, so I've got a tattoo, but we also make it for all the little kids who want one, so you can have one.
That's
too.
great. Thank you, Bob. Awesome. So not only pastries and yummy treats and breads, but also a full menu, right? Breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, we've created a breakfast and lunch menu that really focuses on the bread. So we built a menu around the bread so that we could use the bread in lots of unique and different ways. Let me show you one of them.
Yeah.
This right here, this is our egg in the jar. So what this is, it's purple pureed potatoes mixed with some Gruyere cheese, a little dollop of creme fraiche, some bacon lardon, which is instead of cutting bacon into strips, we make it into thick cubes. And then there's a poached egg. And these are toast soldiers. So the idea is, whether you're using
soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very English term.
Okay.
You're making toast into little sticks.
Yeah.
And so that you can actually take it and dip it in and get a bite of the entire meal in one thing. Or you can use a spoon.
Yeah. Well, let's get right in here. Looks amazing. Worth the visit right there.
Right.
I got to do a toast soldier. Tell us what else we have.
Every week we do a special sandwich, a soup of the week, and we always have quiche. This is our special this week, and it's a spicy Italian sub sandwich. So it's as basic as you can be, but it's ham, salami, capicola, provolone cheese, some shreddy lettuce, Calabrian chili, heirloom tomato. It's on a house-made ciabatta. This is the ciabatta roll that it's on. It's been super popular. I mean, I got 800 likes the first day we posted it on Instagram, so it's sold really well. And it's the first time we've ever done it.
That's great. And you can also find Bob's at many of the local restaurants here in the Ynez Valley.
Yeah. We have a small but select wholesale business. We try and keep it to the restaurants that we know and love that appreciate the good bread. So we're featured at Bell's, we're featured at Plenty on Bell, the Maker's Son down the street, Skyview, and then we're at SY Kitchen, Nella. You
have wine. I noticed you have your own label.
We developed a private label, Wellbred wines, and I've got Wellbred White, which is a Rhone white blend. I've got Wellbred Rosé, which is a rosé of Grenache. And then we've got the Wellbred Red, which is a Grenache.
If there's one thing that shows how good this place is, other than the food, It's the fact that about 50 people have passed through the bakery while Bob and I have been talking. Well, Bob, it's been a real treat to be out here with you. I can't wait to dig into this sandwich. And please tell us how we can find Bob's here in Los Alamos as well as Ballard, and your social handles.
Certainly, and thank you for having us. You can find us on Facebook at Bob's Wellbred, Instagram and Twitter, all at Bob's Wellbred. Bob'sWellbred.com is our website. We've got the menu up there. We have online ordering now as well, so you can choose which location you want to pick up from, Ballard or Los Alamos, and you can place your orders online, which has been great for us as well. Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, online.
Everywhere.
We got it all.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks
you so
again,
much.
pal. You bet. So many tastes, so many smells, the vibe. You've got to come here and experience it for yourself. On to the next. Now that I've had a delicious breakfast, it's time to head to the Danish village of Solvang, where I'm going to be touring an iconic performance space for fans of theater and live music. We're at the beautiful and unique Solvang Festival Theater, managed by Solvang Theater Fest, and I'm here with Executive Director Scott. Scott, please tell us about the history of the theater.
Well, interestingly, this theater was built back in the early 70s during, if you remember, the gas crisis. And they wanted to create a reason for people to be able to come to Solvang. So they got together with the head of actually PCPA. His name was Daryl Morley. And the business folks decided to do this. And they literally built this in less than 70 days. So they just got the land and they built this thing and they just worked night and day to pull this thing off. The first year they didn't even have chairs. They all just kind of sat on the cement. But it was just an amazing thing, and it's been a great relationship with the city, and now we're ready to remodel it and bring it to an even higher level.
And what kind of things are shown here at the Theater Fest?
We have concerts inside and also in our garden. So the bigger stars play here. We've had Clint Black, Scotty McCreery. It goes back and back.
Jim Messina.
Yes, well, Jim Messina, just fantastic groups. A lot of time those guys will be coming, maybe performing in LA, and this is just a great stopping place. So we'll catch them on a Wednesday night and put on a great show and sell all 700 seats, and it's just a fantastic thing.
700 seats, all outdoors. It's unique to Santa Barbara County and the Central Coast. A very special thing to come and do, and my golly, right in the middle of the Danish capital of America. Scott, tell us the kind of people that come out to watch the shows.
We do obviously a great amount of business with the local folks, so we do try to cater our performances to their tastes. Older retired folks, but also there's a lot of younger type, either younger, literally younger, or younger feeling people that love to come out and listen to the music as well. We obviously also have our performances, our plays, and another big thing that we do is we allow this to be a fundraising venue for folks like the Fellowship House. They do their Nashville Nights. The Los Olivos Dance Studio does their performances here, but we also have other folks who can come in and raise money. The City of Solvang does their haunted house. We have jazz concerts, and also we started this year, which is called our local talent, local favorites, and we've had a couple of rock and roll bands coming in.
I've been to all of these events, and I can say firsthand what a great venue this is. It's perfect for hanging out with family and friends. And then in the summertime, PCPA, a theater group, kind of leases the theater out, right? And that's really when you get your Broadway type shows that visitors come and stay overnight to watch the shows.
And I think everybody has their favorite memory, their favorite show. They probably remember the first time they were here. Yeah, it's been a relationship that goes back for forever. Typically they'll bring 4 plays over. It's fantastic.
And we're about to go through a huge remodel. What are going to be some of the improvements to the theater?
So the reason that we're doing the remodel is you can see the utility poles that hold up the lighting standards. They're 47 years old. So because the poles needed to be replaced, then they realized, well, we can free them up from the back wall, so let's completely do the entire back wall. So the biggest pieces are steel stanchions for the poles, that are going to be about 6 feet higher, which actually improved the lighting direction for that. And then the brand new back wall is going to be an additional 8 feet high with a cantilevered top on it as well, and all acoustically designed. As you can tell, when they put this thing up 47 years ago, it wasn't necessarily the latest in acoustics. Yeah. So that whole wall concept is going to keep Solvang's noise out and the theater's noise much more inside here.
This is so cool. They're going to take an amazing location and make it even better.
We're also redesigning the sound booth to put it more centered, so the sound folks are going to be hearing and seeing the same performance that everybody else will, and that'll improve, I think, the experience for the actors and for the patrons as well.
That's great. Already a very special experience here, but it's going to be even more, and you'll be able to crank up the noise a little bit because you won't disturb the outside town.
Right.
It kind of likes to go to sleep a little early, but yeah, amazing. Could we maybe check out backstage?
Of course, I'd love to show it
All
to
right,
you.
let's check it out. I'm really excited to go backstage and see what it's like to be an actor or a crew member at this world-famous theater. So, Scott, it looks like we're in the bowels.
Literally, we are, yes. Of course, this tunnel, as it's called, is really used for actors to get from one side of the stage to the other. But historically, what it really is called is the vomitory.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny word. And I said, does that have anything to do with vomit? And they said, well, actually, as legend has it, a lot of actors would be so nervous with stage fright that they would need some place to go and get rid of their stage fright.
Who doesn't get a little stage fright every now and then? Also, ew.
Even if that story's not true, I love telling it.
Right, that's a gre're story. And so we're underneath the seats, right?
We are underneath the seats. It's got 2 entrances, one at about 1/3 of the way and 2/3 of the way, and it obviously has a lot of traffic for the actors to miraculously disappear, go backstage, and come back on front, or they can go the other way. So yeah, it's a very, very functional and useful piece of the theater.
I've seen plays with just a few people, and I've seen plays with over 50 people, and it always amazes me how they get around and how into it they are, and this is one of the secrets, right?
This is exactly the functional part of the mystery of the performance. Yes.
Yeah, they disappear, and all of a sudden they show up, and they're in a different place, and it's all because they're running downstairs and coming in through here.
And oftentimes a completely different costume as well. So I really have to hand it to the precision of the directors and the performers themselves as they do all of the different things that they do to just make the audience that much more engaging.
Right. Amazing. After experiencing countless performances here, it's great to get a look literally behind the scenes of Solvang Festival Theater. Scott, where do we find ourselves now?
We are in the biggest, one of our 5 dressing rooms actually, and we can, man, I bet you we've got enough room for 60 or 70 different actors in our entire dressing room complex. So these are pretty cool. They really are. I really start to feel that there's a little bit of more newness to the theater itself. Outside is all traditional, but these are pretty cool.
Very, very cool. Well, let's head back outside to the courtyard and we'll learn how we can find out more about Festival Theater.
I'm right behind you.
Scott, thank you for the amazing tour and insight to the Solvang Festival Theater. It is so calm and peaceful out here in the courtyard. Theater's got all the action, but like you say, it's an incredible event space, very peaceful. You're ready to open a bottle of wine and enjoy a glass or two. Please tell us how we can learn more about the Solvang Festival Theater.
SolvangFestivalTheater.org is our website. We've got an entire page that is dedicated to the rebuilding project.
Personally, I can't wait to experience the newly remodeled theater. So for folks who are watching this maybe the 2nd, 3rd, 4th time, you're hoping to be back open by the summer of 2022.
We hope to be performing on stage in July of 2022.
Fantastic. Well, let's work towards that. Scott, thanks again.
Nice to know you.
It's time for some wine, and I'm so excited to be visiting Grimm's Bluff. This winery is located in the idyllic hills of Ynez. Let's meet the people behind this fantastic label. We're out here at the beautiful and amazing Grimm's Bluff Vineyard. I'm joined by Rick Grimm, the owner, as well as Ernst Storm, the winemaker. Rick, please tell us about the history of the vineyard.
Okay, my wife and I bought the vineyard in 2010. It was vacant land. There was nothing here, just grass. We decided to plant a vineyard in 2011. did a lot of research and talked with various people about what we wanted to put in here. We decided on Bordeaux varietals. And as you can see, the vineyard is set out in two halves. We've got a trellis train section behind you. This is head pruned here, and we've planted a couple of clones of Cabernet and several clones of Cabernet in the trellis section. So a little bit in both. We've got a couple of different rootstocks, and we're really trying to test to see what works best up here. So we've got 6 clones of Cabernet, we've got some Petit Verdot, we've got some Cab Franc, and 3 blocks of Sauvignon Blanc. And we decided from the beginning we were going to go biodynamic farming. We felt that was the best way to farm, and it certainly appealed to me, having no chemicals and man-made fertilizers in the grapes. We're trying to do the best we can with what we have to work with, and we're certainly still in a learning process. And each day, each week, each year, we learn something new and something different to apply to the vineyard and our growing techniques. And then we turn it over to Ernst Storm to make the best wine we can. And I think our philosophies are very compatible.
This is great. Rick is not only conscious about the environment, but uses the concept of sustainability to make his wines even better. Ernst, tell us what's unique about this property and this vineyard.
What drew me to the site is the fact that it's obviously farm biodynamic, working with different clones. There's French clones, there's Argentinian clones for the Bordeaux varietals. The 2 different trellising systems, which gives you totally different grapes.
So I noticed that these vines here are kind of from the ground up, and then just across the way you have the trellis. Rick, what's the difference between the...
Right, well, we'll see in a minute, but a trellis, you have 1 cordon that comes across, and it has like 7 shoot positions on it. Here you have the same root system, but you only have 4 cordons coming up. And I think it's a more natural way to grow the wine. All you do with these vines is you let the shoots come out, tie them at the top to support them a little bit. They form their own canopy, as you can see. And it does make a difference in the wine. I think you get a more elegant wine off of these vines than you will the trellis trains. And as Ernst mentioned, you need some of the trellis to give you the structure in the wine.
This property is incredibly beautiful. It's just right down the street from Lake Cachuma, just a few miles from Ynez. And we're going to show you more of the property, and we're going to go by the lake to taste some wine. It's a real treat and an honor to be out here with you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelby.
Thank you.
Not only is this location producing great wines, but look at that stunning view. We're now at the beautiful Grimm's Bluff Lake, and we've been joined by General Manager Jeff Cheney. Thank you for the time you're spending with us out here today.
Absolutely welcome.
I'm going to ask you some questions, but before we get to that, let's taste some of what we have in
Yeah,
glasses
we've got our 2019 Estate Sauvignon Blanc here. One of 2 Sauvignon Blancs we make off the ranch, and what really distinguishes this wine from the other is that this is aged for 9 months in stainless steel. It really helps preserve the freshness and bright aromatics and angular acids of the ranch.
Outstanding. And we just came down from Grimm's Bluff, the actual Grimm's Bluff. And tell us a little bit about the actual label.
Well, the label itself took some time to design and come up with, and after going around and around with the designer for quite some time, Rick settled on this elegant representation of the oak trees off the bluff that you just visited.
Jeff, tell us about the property. I know you just opened a tasting room in Los Olivos.
The tasting room in Los Olivos, which is just about 5 miles away as a crow flies, it's a great spot to have access to our wine on a more regular basis.
Absolutely.
Not everyone can make it out to the ranch on a given day, but this special spot that we're looking forward to inviting more folks out as we start running private appointments and tours over the next year.
Fantastic.
We're changing gears now, getting into our 2020 Rosé of Cabernet Sauvignon, the River Stone. A pretty special wine for our region in that Cabernet Sauvignon is not the most widely used grape to make rosé, but for many different reasons, we felt the need to experiment, and we're sure glad that we did, because this is one of our favorite wines every year. Made in the direct press method. You want to talk a little bit about how we make this wine and how you work the magic?
Yeah, so we pick the grapes, when there's a lot of freshness in the fruit. We do not destem it, we direct press, soft pressing, and then we treat it like a white wine. We ferment it cold, leave it on the lees as long as possible. The idea is to capture minerality and freshness, and I think this wine does that.
I would even venture to say a little controversial to do rosé with Cab Sauv, right?
You could say that.
Yeah.
I think, you know, most people would prefer, what do you think, Rick? Your bookkeeper would probably tell you to
Well,
sell
I
it
think,
as red wine.
yeah, bookkeepers don't like what we're doing, but my wife and I love a Provence-style rosé, and I think Ernst has done a fantastic job of putting it together for us. So.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's delicious, and it's up to the consumer, right? Not the purists.
That's right, and the consumers love it. I mean, they're really happy to see it. The grape itself, sometimes people can say, wow, you know, I don't think I've ever had a Cabernet Sauvignon rosé. Or if they did, perhaps it was forgettable for a reason. But this is something I think has opened a lot of folks' eyes around here in the Valley, that you can achieve a great, quaffable, refreshing style of rosé with this grape. If you take the time to do it right, use the direct press method, pick early, retain those higher acids and lower sugars, and don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. I think that was really what it came down to, is we weren't sure, but we went for it anyway, and
it worked.
It worked.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I know I'm hoping that we're going to go to the Cab Sauv next, which is arguably my favorite Cabernet Sauvignon in the Santa Ynez Valley. All right, now it's time to taste something very special. We are back with what I believe is perhaps the flagship wine here at Grimm's Bluff.
A very special wine from the vineyard here. 2017 Contangos was Ernst's first vintage making this wine for us, and knocked it out of the park. But what's really amazing about this wine is it is exclusively sourced from those head-trained Roman-style bush vines out there.
So the vines we saw earlier, that they're really close to the ground, right? Yeah.
They almost look like little Christmas trees right now.
Yeah.
But what's special about that is, if what makes wine special is the site and the place where it's grown, I think this particular growing method gives us the most honest window into our site. And that being said, it's a really pure expression of Cabernet off of our ranch, where we have not farmed it in the same way that we have the other vines. It's left to kind of do what it wants to do when it wants to do it, and really give an honest voice at the end of the day in the glass. So it's just a great expression of Cabernet.
Very well said, sir. What Rick and his team are doing here is really special, and it's ensuring that generations to come will enjoy wine from the Santa Ynez Valley. Amazing. Come out and discover the Santa Ynez Valley. Come to Grimm's Bluff. Thank you so much, Rick, for having us out.
Thanks for coming out.
Who would like to tell us where we can learn more about Grimm's Bluff and go to the tasting room in LO, as well as maybe book a private tour here at the property?
Absolutely, sure. I would love to share that you can find our wines and more information about us at grimmsbluff.com. And also, please follow us on social media, at Grimm's Bluff on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, keep your eyes out for the newly launching private ranch and vineyard tours with yours truly, if you're lucky. It's a great way to experience this on a more intimate level, what you're seeing today, and also more opportunity to come up to the Los Olivos tasting room and visit us any given day.
Any given day, yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having us out today.
Thank you, Shelby.
This region is really unique, geographically and spiritually. You can't produce wine this good without the land or the people. What an amazing day. We've met people who are beyond passionate about their craft. From bread to theater to wine. These are the folks that make the Santa Ynez Valley such a special place. And as the sun sets on another day, they're out there prepping the dough and checking on the grapes so that tomorrow can be just as amazing as today. So what are you waiting for? Come and check it out.